Good afternoon. In recent weeks, the Bermuda Police Service has noted a marked increase in sex-based and exploitative crimes involving young females. In the past 6 days, the service has received 9 reports involving the sexual exploitation of young teenagers. Many of these reports vary in nature. Several of these reports indicated that the victims have been lured to locations by persons known to them, whereupon they have been given alcohol and/or drugs. Some of these assaults have involved persons unknown to the victims and who have taken advantage of locations where they inappropriately touched, molested, or had the private space intruded upon. In some cases, the internet has become a preying ground for sex offenders trying to lure victims. Offenders will try to get specific information without directly asking for it. For example, they may ask if your child plays on a sports team, which would eventually lead to a discussion where your child played these games. Ultimately, this is trying to set up a meeting. Any person who by a communicating medium communicates with a child for the purpose of sexually exploiting a child is guilty of an offense. Exploiting our young people by these predators is not a new phenomenon. These alarming behaviors will always be unacceptable to those who have been responsibility for protecting our children. The law is clear. The criminal code states that any person who sexually assaults, exploits, lures, administers any noxious substance, i.e. alcohol or drugs, is guilty of an offense. The Child Act states that any person who places a child in significant harm, willfully abuses or molests, mistreats a child, is guilty of an offense. The sexual exploitation of our children are serious offenses and will never be tolerated. Society should never consider this an acceptable behavior. During the remainder of our summer season, we request that all parents know at all times where their children are. To those who wish to sexually exploit our children, know this: we will not tolerate nor stand idly and not act. We will investigate. All proven offenses will expect a court appearance. Simple, basic preventative steps will minimize the risk of our children being sexually exploited. This is my conclusion, and I'd like to hand over to Sergeant Shanita Tanker.
Good afternoon. Children are usually molested by people they know, a friend of the family, or close relative. Usually, children are not violently attacked or physically hurt during such sexual assaults. However, the emotional damage can be severe. Children seldom lie when talking about such matters. When telling you about the attack, children can either appear awkward and ill at ease or relate the details without problems. When telling you about the attack, children can either appear awkward and ill at ease or relate the details without problems. Alternatively, they may not say anything at all. Instead, you might observe changes in your child's behavior or reluctance on their part to be with a certain person. If your child claims to have been sexually molested, tell him or her that he or she did the right thing in telling you about the incident. Give your child your undivided attention and listen closely to what he or she has to say. Let the child know that you are sorry and will protect him or her in the future. Give him or her advice to reduce the risk of becoming a repeat victim. Do not allow requests to sleep outside of the family home remain unchallenged. Confirm these requests with the opposing parents. Determine who their friends are. Ask clarifying questions. Demand locations, contact information, and telephone numbers. Thank you.
You said you had 9 reports over the past 6 days?
Some of them are related, yes.
When you say related, does that mean there's some sort of group doing this, or can you give any insight?
I appreciate some of this is in the
Yeah.
very early stages, and some of it is sensitive and germane to our investigations and inquiries.
Yes.
The purpose is to actually put it out there to the public, that it is out there and that they need to be guarded against such things.
Okay, and were all the victims girls?
In these instances, yes.
And are they confined to certain areas of the island, or is it across?
It is across the island.
Is there any extra advice, particularly over holiday weekend when girls may be staying with other girlfriends, that you'd like to extend? Like if I'm the parent of a teenage girl, should I be freaking out, or do I need to stay cool? Like, what's your advice?
Well, the advice that was given by Sergeant Tankard earlier,
Mhm.
do not allow sleepovers outside of the family home to remain unchallenged. Ask, confirm the request with the opposing parent. Determine who their friends are. Ask clarifying questions. Demand locations. Where the contact information, telephone numbers. Do not allow, I don't know the number. If you don't know the number, can't go. And then call the number. Make sure that you're not got dial-a-prayer. Make sure that it's a number that's valid.
You said that some of these young ladies were being lured. Are they being lured by text, telephone?
Oh, there's a combination of mediums.
Okay, and when you say that they've been induced with drugs or alcohol, those drugs, any of them like the date rape drug?
No, not at this stage.
You mentioned them as just young females, or female girls, I think you said, Darren. Is there any idea of the ages, or can you give us any idea of the age range, not necessarily individual cases?
They're all teenage girls, all below the ages of 18.
Have there been any arrests, or do you have any suspects?
There have been arrests. This is early stages of the investigation, and we'd rather not go into details of that investigations.
Can you say how many arrests have there been?
Yes, 4.
4 males?
Yes.
They're currently being questioned by police. They're in custody, or they're being released on bail?
Yes, they are currently being questioned.
With kids being more technology savvy than most parents are, how difficult is it for a parent to be able to monitor? What advice do you have for a parent to be able to monitor?
Well, demand passwords and actually go through it. Do not schedule the visits that you make to their computer, and if they want to password protect it, take it from them. If you suspect a crime has been committed, bring the computer into the police.